Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. LeBron James didn't just choose a different team this off-season. In my opinion, he chose the franchise where the overall power structure already worked most in his favor. While nearly everyone else focused on the basketball fit, I think they overlooked what was happening behind the scenes. Most fans immediately looked at the move and started talking about championship expectations. The conversation centered around Joel Embiid. It centered around Tyrese Maxey. It centered around one final championship push. But listen to this, I believe there was a much bigger story hiding in plain sight, and I honestly haven't seen many people bring it up. Once you stop focusing only on the talent between the lines and start examining how the organization is connected, a very interesting pattern begins to emerge. Tyrese Maxey is represented by Clutch Sports. Head coach Nick Nurse is also represented by Clutch Sports. Several other players currently on Philadelphia's roster also have Clutch Sports as their agency. Rich Paul himself publicly announced LeBron's decision. Now, none of those individual facts automatically explain why LeBron picked Philadelphia. But when you connect all of them, they begin to paint a picture that's difficult to simply ignore. And in my opinion, that picture helps explain why Philadelphia may have been LeBron's preferred destination all along. Let's begin with Tyrese Maxey. This connection didn't suddenly appear during free agency. Maxey has been represented by Clutch Sports for years. He's openly referred to LeBron as a big brother. They've trained together, built a relationship over the years, and shared the same representation throughout Max's NBA career. So when Philadelphia started pursuing LeBron, this wasn't just another superstar recruiting another superstar. It involved someone who already shared the same agency, already had a genuine relationship with him, and already had years of trust established. That's an entirely different level of recruiting, and I think it matters. Now let's look beyond Maxey. Justin Edwards is represented by Clutch. Jabari Walker is represented by Clutch. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, who has also been linked to Philadelphia following a possible buyout, is represented by Clutch Sports as well. Does that automatically mean Clutch controls the franchise? Absolutely not. But I also don't think those connections should simply be dismissed. Representation creates relationships. Relationships create trust. And trust often creates influence inside an organization. Man, influence has always been something LeBron, James, and Clutch Sports seem to value. Those are the kinds of advantages almost any superstar would appreciate when deciding where to continue their career. Then you have the head coach. Nick Nurse is represented by Clutch Sports too. That doesn't mean Rich Paul is making lineup decisions or telling Nick Nurse who should be on the floor. There's absolutely no evidence supporting that, and nobody should present it as fact. But I do think it's fair to ask whether sharing the same representation naturally leads to better communication, stronger trust, and fewer disagreements between a franchise player and the coaching staff. Personally, I think that's a reasonable possibility. I also believe those relationships can make it easier for LeBron and Clutch to communicate what they want from the organization, whether that's roster construction, long-term planning, or other basketball decisions. Whether the front office acts on those conversations is ultimately their decision. Now, take a step back and look at LeBron's career as a whole. Time after time, he's chosen situations where trusted relationships were already in place, not only with teammates, but with people throughout the organization as well. That's not necessarily a criticism. In reality, most all-time great players prefer joining environments where trust already exists. The difference, in my opinion, is that throughout his career, LeBron has repeatedly chosen situations where trusted relationships were already established before he arrived, giving him an environment where his voice naturally carried significant weight. Philadelphia seems to fit that pattern. The entire recruiting process only reinforced that idea. Tyrese Maxey wasn't simply another player making a recruiting phone call. He already had a long-standing personal and professional relationship with LeBron. Bob Myers also publicly made his pitch while appearing on Rich Paul's podcast alongside LeBron's longtime agent. Again, none of those details prove anything on their own. But when so many of the key figures are already connected through the same professional network, it's difficult, at least in my opinion, to believe those relationships had no influence whatsoever. Some people will argue this decision was purely about basketball, and there's no question basketball played a major role. Joel Embiid is still an MVP caliber player when he's healthy, and Tyrese Maxey has developed into one of the league's elite young guards. Adding Jaylen Brown gives Philadelphia another proven two-way star. That alone makes the 76ers a legitimate championship contender. I don't disagree with any of that. I just don't think it tells the entire story. Modern NBA free agency isn't only about talent. It's also about relationships, trust, comfort, and organizational stability. Once you start looking at Philadelphia through that lens, the decision becomes much easier to understand. And it's a perspective I haven't seen many people discuss. Could LeBron have signed somewhere else? Maybe, assuming another franchise was willing to make that move. There were reportedly other teams with attractive basketball situations, but Philadelphia appeared to offer something very different. It offered familiarity. An organization where several important people around him already shared professional relationships that existed long before free agency, many of them through clutch sports. To me, that's not something you simply brush aside. It looks like a meaningful factor, just as similar relationships have mattered throughout LeBron's career. Now, I can't sit here and tell you this is the definitive reason LeBron became a Sixer. Only LeBron truly knows that. But when you consider the relationships, the shared representation, the timing, the structure that was already in place before negotiations even began, I believe those connections likely played a significant role in making Philadelphia an attractive destination. If that's true, then in my opinion, LeBron didn't just choose another championship contender. He didn't simply choose the team that gave him the best chance to win, or even the only team willing to pursue him aggressively. He chose the organization where trust, familiarity, and long-standing relationships were already waiting before he ever signed the contract. And when you step back and examine all of those connections inside Philadelphia, I don't think it's unreasonable to believe they mattered. I think it's one of the biggest angles in this entire story that almost nobody has been discussing. Just think about it. Clutch Sports represents multiple key figures connected to the franchise, including players and even the head coach. Bob Myers also has a relationship with Rich Paul that goes back years. Does that automatically mean LeBron controls every decision the 76ers make? Absolutely not. And there's no evidence to support that claim. But those existing relationships could naturally create more communication, more trust, and more influence than he might have had elsewhere. That's one possible reason why Philadelphia may have appealed to him. As for the narrative that nearly every team was lining up to sign him, I'm still not completely convinced. And that's why I believe there's much more to this story than most people are talking about. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe for more NBA news, analysis, and breaking stories.